Hi, welcome back to the Luxe Leap. We are so excited to have you back in your ears, listening to us. If this is your first time, you are in for a super treat because I have an incredible guest here with me today. So Sharon is here. Sharon Bauer is the founder of Bamboo Data Consulting. It's a privacy and security consulting firm. With a background in law and a passion for data protection, Sharon helps businesses of all sizes turn privacy risks into strategic advantages. She led the Privacy by Design certification program at KPMG Canada and has worked with top companies across industries like telecom, fintech, retail, and tech. Sharon regularly shares her insights on privacy and cybersecurity trends, emerging global regulations, and practical solutions on this blog covering topics like data, clean room, AI compliance, and privacy law updates. Whether you're seeking expert advice or looking to book Sharon for speaking engagements, her forward-thinking and tailored approach makes her a trusted guide in the evolving privacy landscape. And I'm so excited to have her because she's the first person of her kind to be on this show, and all of us going into an AI-driven world need her insights. So buckle up, especially if you're in your car, and let's welcome Sharon to the show. Welcome, Sharon.
Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. So I like to kick it off with everybody to ask, what inspired you to start your brand? And just give us a brief Reader's Digest version, like we found on our grandma's kitchen tables, of your company story.
Yeah. So, my brand started before I even started my company, to be honest. And I think because I had my personal brand, it became a lot easier for me to start my company. I started my brand when I was still practicing law, which I'm no longer doing. And part of that was because I was forced to do business development. And when I was young and first got into law, the partner at my law firm was this ginormous man that demanded everyone's attention in the room as soon as he stepped in. I'm 5 feet tall. At the time, I was, I think, 24 years old and just a baby. And I remember thinking, how am I ever going to be like him? And for a little while, I was actually trying to. I was trying to be really tough and difficult, which is what his kind of shtick was all about. And it was not natural for me at all. I'm a bubbly, fun kind of girl, and it was not something that I enjoyed being, nor was I good at being. And so I had to find my way, and I had to, at that time, realize that I don't have to be a certain type to be successful. And that was a huge lesson for me. And once I started to figure out what my personality, my work personality was like, which ended up being my real personality, so bringing my authentic self to work, I started to see how amazing the results were. And as a lawyer, you think, oh, you have to be tough and mean. Well, you know what? Being the friendly and fun type sometimes ends up getting you what you want just as much as the tough, strict type. So that was a great lesson for me. I eventually transitioned my career from law into privacy consulting. And I had to figure out what my new brand was going to be. And so I had to kind of rebrand myself so that people would stop seeing me as the lawyer doing insurance law and start seeing me as an expert in privacy. So I had to have an evolution. But through that, what I kind of kept consistent was my authenticity in being myself and letting my personality shine through. And I think that differentiated me from a lot of people, because in both worlds, you get the very kind of stiff corporate type. And that is not me. And I can't pretend to be someone that I'm not. So I think I really stood out amongst others because of the creative, kind of free-spirited personality that I brought to the table.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And I grew up in a family of attorneys. Like, seriously, everybody around me is an attorney, even my own boyfriend.
Yeah.
And, growing up in that space, especially when you're bubbly and you're fun and you're high energy, sometimes it can feel like a bit of a container and almost scary to show your authentic self in some ways.
Yeah.
I'm just a little bit taller than you, not much. And my dad is a big guy who is strict. And so like I had that feeling just growing up. like, how do you feel these shoes? And so I really resonate with that, as you kind of move forward and start to let that part shine, because let's be real, we need joy in all spaces, and your ability to bring joy and that energy, it's needed. It's needed in all spaces. So as you look at that, and you start to think of that dichotomy of like, oh gosh, everyone's stiff here, and like, that's just not me. What was a pivotal moment in your brand's journey that really defined where you are today, where you're like, you know what? Nope, I'm me.
It was probably when I decided to start my own business. Because of course, starting your own business, you have to think about what are we going to be? What is the brand for the business? And again, I wanted it to be easy for me to buy
Mhm.
into my own brand. And so it had to have some sort of a reflection of not me per se, but of what I believed in. And so I think that was when I took all my learnings from my journey to get me to the
Mhm.
point where I wanted to start my business to really bring out um, the brand, the company brand, and what it represents. So again, I didn't want it to be the corporate type or stiff in any way. And in fact, I had so much fun building that brand and will always continue to build the brand. And I'm not shy about it. I'm not shy that, oh, or embarrassed that, oh, we're not, as corporate as others. In fact, I try to find ways to be different. So I look at other industries or other inspiring people that I really admire how they put themselves out there or what their brand is like, and try to bring it into our brand. And the more different we are, the better. If I could be even more different, I would do it. So and part of our value is be different. Like,
Yeah.
don't be part of the status quo. How are you going to stand out? And I think that that's actually really helped us for our business.
I think differentiation is one of the most powerful things you can have in a brand.
Yeah.
I Nobody remembers you if you're doing everything that everyone else is doing. And it's so funny. Right before we hopped on this call, I was actually having that conversation with somebody else where they're like, yeah, but all the other websites like mine do this, because I don't want to give full attention to what that was, but all the other websites like mine do this. And I go, okay, well, it's still a pain to navigate. So why don't we be the one who's different, who makes it simpler? And it took a minute, but they got it. But it's like the the bravery and being different is so powerful. And that's what's so amazing about having you here, Sharon, is like the ability to just say, no, listen, do your own thing, be different. You're going to stand out, because that's what makes you memorable. That's what makes this like so incredible. And when we talked the very first time that we met, you were telling me about your podcast that's kind of like carpool karaoke.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that just makes you shine in such a way. Do you mind sharing what that's like and how people
Yeah.
can find it? Because I just think it's brilliant.
Yeah. So again, trying to borrow creative ideas from everywhere. Like I literally will walk anywhere on the street, drive around, have interactions with people. And I'm constantly, like subconsciously actually thinking about, and how can I bring that to the business? What can I do with that? So of course, now I guess everyone knows I'm in the privacy and security industry, and we deal with governance, privacy, and security. And one of our clients had us dealing with all three topics. And randomly, I got thinking about, oh, okay, that's funny. It's GPS, right? Oh, it's GPS. And then I started branding my whole service line around GPS and comparison to like traveling and driving and this and that. And we had a lot of fun with like just making fun of the situation. And again, making it memorable. GPS. Everyone's going to remember GPS. And then the next thing I think about is, oh, if it's GPS and you're in the car and you're traveling, why don't we do something like a carpool karaoke, which is, of course, a very famous YouTube show where a host brings in a celebrity and usually a singer, and they sing in the car and they chat and it's fun and all that stuff. So I thought, you know what? I could do the same thing. But of course, instead of carpool karaoke, it's carpool consulting. So I bring in guests from within my industry, or maybe not in the industry, maybe they're a business, but they have some sort of interaction with governance, privacy, or security. And we get to sit together and have a chat. And it usually is something really funny, and we laugh a lot, and we usually have a snack in the car, and there are always some fun surprises. And this has literally been an idea of mine for years. And I have to say, for so long I thought, no one will actually think it was cool or funny. It's a fun idea in my head, but I'm not going to actually do it. And then the logistics of, well, how would I do it? I don't even know how to edit videos. Forget it. This is never going to work. And then next thing I know, a couple years later, I met an editor, and right away I'm like, she would be perfect to edit these videos that I have in my head. And that triggered me to say, that's it, I'm going to do it. And we're doing it, and we've had so much great feedback. It's been amazing, and it's been so much fun.
Oh my goodness. I'm telling you, it was one of the coolest ideas I have ever heard. And I'm a woman who deals in ideas. Like that is all I do all day. And so when something stands out as a top idea, like it's money, Sharon. It's literally money. I
Thank you.
might as well just make it rain outside your window cash, because that is a damn good idea. I love it.
It's fun.
So for folks who need that type of work that you do, what is the current sales process that clients go through to work with you? What does that look like if they were to call you tomorrow?
Well, I mean, first you have to understand why they're calling you, right? What is the purpose for which they want to retain me? It could be because they were breached and they need to get their ducks in a row and figure out how to, number one, respond to the breach, but also how to clean up their house to make sure that something like that doesn't happen again.
Mm-hmm.
It could be because they can't sleep at night knowing that they may not be compliant with regulations. And so they want to be compliant before something happens. So it's a proactive approach. And other companies understand that they have a huge brand and reputation out there, that should there be one complaint or breach or something were to hit the fan, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear.
Oh,
So
you can curse.
okay.
I practically own a pirate ship.
They want to build that trust with their consumers. And so understanding the purpose that has driven them to us is super important. And once we identify what that is, we put together a plan to sort out how we're going to help them in a very customized approach. Every company is very different. And part of the thing that I think makes us stand out as a great consulting firm is that we give you a personalized approach. It drives me crazy, and I work with consultants. Some are fantastic and some are not. And working with consultants really helped me kind of identify what service do I want to provide, and I want my clients to feel like they are my only client.
Mm-hmm.
I am only thinking about them. I am obsessing about them. That is what I want all of my clients to think about. And if they don't think that, then I'm not doing a good enough job.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I shifted things. So when I am working on a project, they are the only client. Like I had to just hit a point where it's like, I can only focus on you, because that's how we get the greatness out of it. And I do agree, there are some folks who aren't the best, but the best are here on this show. So here we are. So I really do love that, like the intentionality of, hey, first we're gonna chat about it and figure out where you're coming from, but also please know where you're coming from. That's a huge help. But then the ability to take strategy and lead with strategy first, from listening and understanding the problem. I think that those things are things that everybody should have in their process somehow, some way, in order to be super successful. So it does give that feeling that you're talking about, that they are special, that they can make it happen, and that you are really walking alongside them to ensure that we're not playing a metaphorical game of what was that mind game that we used to play on as kids on the computer where you just like sit there and keep clicking buttons and hope you don't hit one? It'll come to me
Oh,
later.
Pac-Man?
Not Pac-Man, but it was like on the computer and you just hit all these gray little squares and then underneath one of them
Oh,
might be a bomb.
mine, it's not Minecraft. I know what you're talking about.
And I want to call it Minecraft too, because having
Yeah,
kids makes you want to say Minecraft, but like, you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah. But I have to say, if I don't feel like I've left some positive impact
Yeah.
on my clients at the end of an engagement, and many times the engagement never ends because it just like continues, and we're kind of a part of their team, which is great. But if I feel like I'm not leaving anything of significance behind for them, I don't feel like it's a successful engagement. And we're very proactive in making sure that we have created a positive experience. And this is what I tell my staff, that you can create the best policy in the world, and you could give it to the client, and the client will read it and they'll praise it, amazing, amazing, and they'll put it on the shelf and never think about it again. And they will never think about you again because they actually don't care that much about the policy. What will make them remember you is the experience that they have with you, that you listened to them, that you provided them what they wanted and more, that you thought 5 steps ahead of them and created just the most incredible experience. It's about experience. Because I could tell you, there are many competitors out there of mine that are doing an amazing, amazing job. The policy that we wrote is probably as equally as good as theirs. And you're probably not going to get a significant difference when you look at the two policies and procedures and maybe even advice that we give. We're all here for a reason. We all got to where we are because we're all really smart. And that's great. I'm never going to put my competitors down. So how am I going to be different? I'm going to give you an experience.
I love that. And especially when we're looking at law and regulation, like the regulation and the laws, they are what they are. Let's be very
Exactly.
transparent. They are what they are. And yes, we can all interpret them slightly different, but there is a standard and an expectation put in play when you're
Yep.
dealing in those spaces. And so as you deal in those spaces, an experience is real and people want experiences these days. Like post COVID, we are all experiential driven humans. The amount of interactive art museums. I was just looking at an ice cream social museum, which sparked this idea of like a hip hop hall here in my city of like, how can we bring all these things together so people can have this experience?
Yeah.
And so the fact that you draw inspiration from other places, and thank you for not putting your competitors down, we all need to do a better job of uplifting each other, is that idea of like, what is that saying? Like nobody will remember what you said, but people will remember how you made them feel.
100%.
And
I'm a huge believer in that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's true. It's true. Like
Yeah.
you never know. I had somebody who sold to me the other day and they were so mean to me. And I was like, that was unnecessary. I don't even care if it might still stand. Like, absolutely not. No.
Yeah.
Like, we're not talking to people like that.
Yeah. I mean,
So
also the industry that I'm in, having to interpret legislation, and let's face it, many people don't want to think about privacy, may think it's complicated, it's boring, forget it, let's put it aside and pretend it doesn't exist. It's all about compliance, right? No one
yeah.
wants to. Compliance is boring for most people, not for me, for most people. And so, how do we get them to buy into something that we're trying to, number one, sell them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Most companies think this is a cost center. They're not going to be necessarily or initially making a ton of money by implementing privacy. If anything, they'll think that they're actually getting less. They're losing money
Mm-hmm.
when they're implementing privacy, which is not true, by the way, just so everyone knows. But that's a completely different podcast to deal with. So how do I get them, number one, to buy into my service, and then when I'm in there doing what I need to do, getting all their staff to buy into this new privacy culture that they have to implement? Otherwise, what's the point of bringing me in, right? And so creating an experience for that buy-in is really important. Not just like an experience that I'm providing, but helping our clients come up with an experience within their company of getting their employees to buy into privacy so their employees aren't putting the company at risk.
And buy-in, that is a powerful skill to have, the ability to influence and persuade. That is not an I
It
don't
is.
care what anybody says. That is not a natural skill. That is a learned skill. That is something you have to get very, very good at. And so, having that ability to create that experience, Sharon, I think, to your point, it's not the sexiest thing in the world. Like, compliance is not the sexiest thing in the world. It's
It
okay.
is for me.
You love it, but like, it's
I get it. I get it. Of
I
course.
almost like laugh. I like think of like, what did I like when I was in my 20s? And like as a 30-year-old, like in my 30s, I'm older than just 30 now. It's fine. We don't need to count, but now I'm just like, ooh, do you have like a real job and a bank account and like all the things that were just not super sexy at 22? So, it's like if you have privacy and compliance, you're like, yeah, my business just got a hell of a lot sexier, but how do we make everybody else feel that way? So I really love that intentionality even behind the communication to create the experience, because it's not just an experience. It's like a communication that's going to keep this ongoing. It's not a one and done thing. It's a forever thing. Um, and how do we make it feel and look and sound like something we want to do? I have a girlfriend. She is a speaker coach, incredible speaker coach. And the thing that I have always, always held on to from her is that she always says, listen, y'all, there's no such thing as boring topics, only boring speakers.
Yeah.
So you're just a really, really damn good speaker when it comes to talking about these things. Like, I'm excited. And did not wake up this morning and said, you know what, sounds good today.
When you get to talk to me about privacy, I get it.
Well, I was excited to talk to you, but actually about the snow. No, I'm just kidding.
You bring a really good point. Like when I have to, and I do a lot of speaking engagements, whether it's conferences or festivals or even just in boardrooms.
Yeah.
I have to think about how am I going to make privacy compliance exciting, and it is not. But borrowing, like I love using analogies, or I love making really bold statements that gets people thinking, or gets people being like, is she for real? Because then they actually want to listen. Like, why is she saying this? And so, like, one example, of course, I'm a privacy consultant. I believe in privacy. I should think, privacy is alive, and everyone needs to think about privacy. And I walked up on the stage, and the first thing that I did was I read a eulogy that I wrote, and they didn't realize that what I was reading was a eulogy about privacy, because then I said, privacy is dead. So first of all, the eulogy was like, why is she reading a eulogy? And then I say privacy is dead. I am a privacy consultant. And so everyone's like, what? Did she just say privacy is dead? And, I then had to defend myself in my talk. Why is privacy dead? Is it actually dead? And on it goes. And, it ended up being that, yeah, well, our personal information is out there, but trust is still alive. And so you companies need to start building trust with your consumers by implementing proper privacy practices and handling their data responsibly, etc. Because trust is where it's at. They'll give you more information if they have trust with your brand.
With you.
Yeah. So, that is one example of trying to be really creative and being bold and not being so stiff. I could have read them the law, the top 5 reasons why you should implement privacy, or top 5 new privacy laws. No one's going to listen to that.
No.
I'm not going to get buy-in with that.
I wish I was there. That just sounds like too much. Like, it sounds fun. And I think that's super powerful. So I got a couple questions for you as like where you're taking this. Like, where are you taking this fun privacy train? Because this is like incredible. What are your long-term goals for expanding your brand's impact?
Oh gosh, that's a good one. If I'm being totally honest with you, I don't really have a roadmap. Like, I don't have a long-term plan. I'm kind of like, all right, what has worked? What is not working? What are my immediate needs? So we haven't done any sort of like, for example, outreach. Everything has been very organic. We've done all of our marketing kind of in-house. And that has gotten us to where we are, and it's been a very good ride so far. But now I'm starting to think about, okay, how are we going to be proactive in getting the clients that we really want? We've been super fortunate to have the most amazing clients, and I love them all. And then there are some clients that we really want to get, and I can't rely on chance that they'll see my great marketing, posts on LinkedIn or
Yeah.
wherever we may be. I need to actually take the next step and reach out to them. And for me, that's always been a bit of a, I don't know how to do it, and it's too scary. And what if they say no? But I'm so I feel lucky to be in this situation where I think I'm gonna like be forced to do that, and I think that means I'm just gonna grow and
You are.
learn so much more than what I know. And I mean, we've only been alive as a business for 5 years, and it's done us really well. But you do need to grow and you need to experience things that make you feel uncomfortable. So I'm going to
Mhm.
go into it with open arms and learn as much as I can and put myself in an uncomfortable situation so that I can grow from it.
Oh my gosh. I love the honesty. I think the honesty is incredible. And we were chatting, um, about how scary it was for me just to even ask you to be here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was downright terrifying. But uh
You know me, you're like, I had nothing to be afraid of.
nothing at all. Like nothing at all. That's the even better part. And that is why this podcast is titled The Luxe Leap. It's like, how do we take these leaps that get us to another level of life that is luxurious for us? Because I think we all can find luxury in where we live right now, right here, right now. Sometimes luxury is just going outside and taking a walk outside,
Yeah.
um, and spending time with our babies. But when you really like think about it, some of us aren't all thinking about what's happening 10 years down the road. Some of us are just saying, I know I need to do this thing, and that's going to take me somewhere 10 years down the road. But like a lot of things are also happening right here, right now. So live in the present. And so I appreciate that honesty as you kind of move forward. And I'm not going to turn on my brand hat because I start to just strategically start thinking in real time without
Okay,
having.
I'll take any of your
You're
advice.
like, I'll take it. I'm a person who has to like write in color, and I'm like, oh, we're just gonna pull out a whiteboard real quick. Maybe later. One of these days, I'll figure out how to get one that's not as big as I am in on my lap. I have done that a time or 20 in my life, like a teacher balancing it on my knee, like, here, Sharon, like here's all my ideas. I totally will though. But as we kind of look into the future, and I always ask everybody these questions, and I'm very curious as we're like nearing our time together. On the note of luxury, what does a luxurious life look like to you?
A luxurious? This is a good one. Um, because I kind of feel like I'm living it. Um,
Tell me
I
more.
I feel like I went through a lot of kind of experiences in my work life.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to where I am because I felt like none of the other experiences were as luxurious, I guess you want to call it, um, as what I think it could be. And I feel that allowing myself to create, to be creative, to do something I'm super passionate about, even when it's hard. And I have to remind myself, and especially as an entrepreneur, you have amazing days or even months or weeks, and you're like, I am the shit. I am on top of the world. Everything is going perfectly. But you also know that is going to come down at some point,
Mhm.
because that's just the cycle of entrepreneurship and running a business. And I think, going through that several times, you realize that when you are kind of coming down and things aren't as great as they were a week ago or a day ago, you have
Even
to
2 hours.
remind yourself that it's going to come back, because it always does. And this is the time to learn. When things are going down, it is a gift where you have to say, I have to go through this to develop and grow and learn. Otherwise, my business will not go like this. It will just go like this, or will go like this. So you have to go through those hardships, and you have to be grateful for them. And it's so hard. It's so hard at the time to be grateful, because you're like, is my business going downhill? Like, this is it. This is the end. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're dead. It's not, because you've been through it so many times to know that this is a gift. But, apart from all of that, when I am super happy, I feel like I bring my best self not only to work, but to my family. And it is finding the joy in everything around me, in the work, even when it's tough, in my personal life, even when my kids are driving me crazy. It's trying to find the joy. And when you bring the joy to, your lap and embrace it, that is luxury, joy.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. One of the things that you said that really stood out to me and reminded me of this idea is like, if you're super, super stressed in the lows, if you can't be grateful in the lows, you're most likely also going to be super stressed in the highs that you can't even be grateful for the highs. Like that is a consistent mindset across all ups, downs, and stagnant moments. And so really working on that mindset is going to bring you the joy that you get to live every single day.
Yeah.
And to be I once made cheer shirts for a team that I coached. Sharon, I don't know that you know that I coached cheerleading for a million years, but any listeners know that I
Cool.
coached cheer for like a trillion years. And one of the things I would say to my kids all the time was um, like having an attitude of gratitude. Like, be grateful that we're here. Be grateful that you dropped that stunt because you won't make the same mistake again. Be grateful that like your jumps are low today because they'll be high tomorrow. Like, be grateful that, to your point, you get to learn. And to learn is to live and not be dead like privacy. So,
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. I'll just add one tiny little
yeah.
thing. Um, I worked at a company where there were lots of highs and lots of lows, and honestly, and maybe we want to cut this out later, but I have to say it, like, at least to you, that people weren't actually on drugs, but it felt like when the high was so high, it felt like they were on this drug. And then when they were low, it was like withdrawal, right? Where they
Hmm.
were like, they just need to get to that high again. And it was so obvious and clear to me um how dangerous that was, and unhealthy
Yes,
that.
unhealthy.
And so I am so grateful for that experience, even though it may not have been the highest moment in my career, that I got to observe and then take that as a lesson learned and try to apply it to my now, existing life. And when I said I feel like I'm living my luxurious life right now, because if I keep thinking I'm going to pursue my luxurious life, I don't have it yet, I'm never going to have it ever, because I am constantly raising the bar. We all do. You achieve something, well, okay, whatever. That actually doesn't give me that much satisfaction like I thought it would. So I guess I now need more.
I need something else.
Exactly. But the more you want, the more you are a prisoner of,
Yeah.
needing rather than, oh, look at what I have.
Yeah. And that's and being just being so grateful for that. All right. Last one, best one.
I'm nervous.
You shouldn't be. You're gonna knock it out of the park. In
Uh-oh.
one word, what is your primary motivation in business?
Um, Give me a second here. Uh, I know this is going to be counterintuitive to what I just said about going up and down, but my word is stability.
Oh no, I think that's normal. Okay, I know why I think it's normal. Why is your word stability?
Stability in so many ways. Financially, feeling, when you feel stable financially, you kind of have a bit more of a calmness of, okay, things are financially stable, we can like move forward, I don't have to stress. um, Stability in terms of stress level. So I could be the best mom, wife, daughter, friend that I can possibly be to everyone. And also stability with just generally how the company is going, so that my staff can feel kind of rest assured that we are all kind of moving in the same direction and the company's doing really well. There's so much of that like stability that I would like to see, and I'm aiming for, that impacts all aspects of my life.
I love that. And the reason I felt like stability was normal is, especially as a business owner, if you are the stability, even in the ups and downs, it makes it so much easier for those around you. And I really appreciate that one word. You're the first person to actually use that word.
Okay.
So I absolutely love it. And Sharon, I cannot tell you how much fun this was for me. This was absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for being here today. You are a joy to talk to, and just a complete light. And I'm really grateful to have you here. So thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. You dropped so many golden nuggets. I feel bad for anybody who's driving. They're just going to have to listen to it again and pull out a notebook. And you were absolutely incredible. So thank you again for being here today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Have a beautiful day. Thank you for tuning in and listening to us chat here on the Luxe Sleep. Again, that was Sharon Bauer from Bamboo Consulting. She's incredible. I will link all the things in the show notes, and I hope you have a beautiful day, and we will all chat soon. Bye-bye.